of NFL football coverage, and of course, college football as well, but still, pretty eventful week one, obviously, we had across the NFL. Started with the Eagles. I kicked off last week with the Eagles and the Cowboys. The Eagles not covered, but they found a way to win. But man, Dallas, got to give them credit. They hung in there, played a close game, but Philadelphia won. But they're lucky they won. Jalen Carter was pretty stupid for spitting on Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott spit on him too, but still, Jalen Carter, you're such an idiot for that. You are a real dumbass for spitting at a player. You really should have been suspended. I think Dak Prescott could have faced discipline as well too, kind of, but still, Jalen Carter, you should have been suspended, pal. You're lucky you're playing this weekend against the Chiefs. But still, all right. Oh, you're live from Lambeau, from Green Bay right now.
Live from Lambeau. There we go. We're at the friendly confines of Lambeau Field. 25-26 Super Bowl champs.
I mean, yeah, they looked dominant last week, but man, less than 24 hours to your first Packers game in that stadium.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of Packers games. Never seen a win, but I'm in Lambeau Field this year. I think this might be the time I get to see a win.
Yeah, that's right, because usually you're in Buffalo and Pittsburgh, they've lost. That's right.
Let me break down the game, Mick.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because it is week 2.
I think the Redskins are an excellent team. They have a few flaws. They have running back issues.
That's correct, for sure.
Their defense is not bad, but not great. They're a little weak in the back end. I think Packers are complete now. They got depth. They have a good defense. They had Mike Parsons. They got offense. They're not overpowering on offense, but enough to keep them defense off the field. I'm calling for a 31-27 victory, Green Bay over the Redskins.
Really? So you got the Packers winning by 4. I mean, that's not a bad prediction. I mean, I could see both teams scoring points.
Yep.
But yeah.
So let's get into this. Let's talk about your prediction. Who do you got?
I think the Packers will still win, but they won't cover.
You think they're going to win but not cover? Well, you know what? I'll take a win. I will take a win, Mick. What about
I can see it going either way by Green Bay.
Let's talk about your Buffalo Bills.
Oh, what a game that was last week.
What's that?
What a game that was for sure. Sunday Night Football last week.
Well, it's a great game when your defense is lousy.
That was bad. That's the concern.
Your defense was lousy. So I will tell you, Josh Allen is an absolute stud. He could be MVP again this year. The rest of the team, I don't know. I'm not so sure, Mick. I'm not so sure. I think the Ravens dominated him for 3.5 quarters.
They did.
I think you got lucky and eked one out. You're gonna keep doing that all year? I don't know.
I hope not. I just want some games where we should blow out teams that we should, though.
I think you guys are gonna be the beneficiary of a weak schedule.
I mean that could be, but man,
you have a first seed, but I don't know. They gotta figure some stuff out. They gotta get some defensive linemen that can stop the run.
Right. But missing Landon Jackson was kind of huge. It seemed like.
Yeah,
he was a rookie, but
sure was.
I'll still take the win, especially against a great team like the Ravens.
Yeah, that's a good win. Any win's a good one. So, what's your predictions on this week, Mick?
Oh, this time we'll play for good 4 quarters.
Well, Mick, I think we're having trouble with my signal here, or yours. I think it's your signal, actually.
I think it's actually mine tonight. Yeah.
I think it is, bud. Well, I think the Bills are in for another victory. We just got done eating our dinner. I'm going to head back to the room, watch some football, and get ready for a big day tomorrow. I'm going to sign off from Lambeau Field.
Pleasure having you on, especially from Lambeau. That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Good luck tomorrow. That was my dad once again. Second straight week on Instigator Mick. Pleasure having, but especially now being in Lambeau. Yeah, Nick, I got bad signal for sure, but yeah, it was always a pleasure having him on. And that's gonna be a fun game to watch tomorrow. Don't miss Thursday night football this week. Not just, I mean, seriously. First of all, my dad being there for his first time ever for a Packers game at Lambeau. But second off, two NFC powerhouses going head to head. Packers look tough. I will say this is probably the best they've looked in a long time. I mean, their defense. I mean, they're hyping up saying this thing like like the whole Reggie White thing. It kind of feels like it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that game tomorrow for sure. So yeah, the Packers are gonna win this one for sure. But they will not cover. I said they will not cover for sure in that one. Of course, we had the Friday night game we just had last week. The Chargers had a big win over the Chiefs. I won that pick in MSP, but still, congrats to the Chargers. That's another big takeaway. The Chiefs 0-1. They could possibly finish 0-2 this weekend. That was another big set right there. So that was a shocker. Of course, you had some really takeaways from Sunday. Steelers beat the Jets. Aaron Rodgers didn't look like a 41-year-old, I'll tell you that. He took some hits at times, but man, 4 touchdowns, almost 300 yards passing. Looked good, but Justin Fields, I think, was a big surprise to how good the Jets offense looked too. Nice free spring. Oh, that's a good one, Nick. That was another takeaway. Of course, the Dolphins look like the worst team in football last week. They got spanked by Daniel Jones. Of course, Commanders beat the Giants. Bengals lucked out against the Cleveland Browns. I knew they were going to struggle, but I did not expect them to win. I thought the Browns were going to win that one. Patriots looked like shit last week. Geno Smith still got it, man. Still got it, man. The Raiders 1-0. We know the Patriots 0-1. Patriots look like shit again. Arizona Cardinals covered, but they covered the spread in MSP, but it did not look pretty at times for the Cardinals. They could have won by more than that, but still. This is why they're kind of a mid kind of team or down at the bottom usually. Bucks and Falcons had an epic showdown, but of course, Baker Mayfield led a game-winning touchdown, but Falcons missed a field goal. That's right, Younghoe Koo missed a field goal. That's how the Falcons lost this past Sunday to the Buccaneers. Broncos lucked out. Thank God they had a really good defense. They lucked out. They should have. I felt like at times they should have lost that game to the Titans. And the 49ers, that game was, a lot of defense, but man, Brock Purdy led a game-winning drive. That tight end made an insane catch. The backup for for George Kittle. That was an insane catch. Pretty much beat the Seahawks. Of course, Packers dominated the Detroit Lions. Then the game of the, of course, before I get to the game of the year, Texans and Rams, ugly kind of game, but the Rams won 14-9, a low-scoring affair. This was a game of the year. The Bills-Ravens game, what a game that was. There's times our backs were against the wall. It could have been over, but man, that's why we had Josh Allen for a reason. That's why Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. That's why he's an MVP for a reason. Leading a comeback like that with under 5 minutes to go in the game, down 15. But I also think the Ravens choked again as well, too. This is just as bad as losing in the playoff game, I'll be honest, for the Ravens. Derrick Henry choked. He fumbled. Ed Oliver played the best game of his career. That Bills comeback was goated, Cube, for sure. So, that was a crazy game. Bills won this game 41-40. I've never seen a game like that in my life. Congrats to my Buffalo Bills. And, of course, what a comeback for J.J. McCarthy. He struggled for 3 quarters, but the 4th quarter came out of nowhere. The Bears choked and lost to Minnesota Vikings. So, congrats to J.J. McCarthy. He looked phenomenal at 4th quarter. Plus, he had Justin Jefferson, but still, that Vikings defense shut down Caleb Williams. And those are your week 1 recap. Let's talk about week 2. Obviously, I was just with Tim, my dad, moments ago. He was in Lambeau. Last 24 hours, wait for the biggest game. Commanders and Packers. The spread is 3.5 on MSP. I am taking the Commanders in the points, but I see the Packers winning. Packers will win, but they won't cover. I can see it coming down to a game-winning field goal, something like that. But it's gonna be a fun one to watch. I take the Commanders in the spread. Now let's move on to Sunday's games. The New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins, both AFC East teams that really suck ass. It's kind of a battle for the basement in this one. It's hard to tell which one's worse. Miami Dolphins looked absolute ass, losing to Daniel Jones. Meanwhile, the Patriots, yes, they struggled, but they put up at least more points compared to the Miami Dolphins. But I will take the Dolphins this one. They're a favorite of 1/2. This is in Miami, so I think the Dolphins will win this one. They will not start 0-2. New England, I would take. A party wants to take them, but I just don't. I think Dolphins will be pissed off about the loss, but party just thinks I just can't trust Stephon Diggs. Drake May. I'm still kind of not sold on at times. New England, I just don't know about them this year, so I'm uncertain about them. So that's why I like the Dolphins this one. This one's kind of a tricky pick here. My Jacksonville Jaguars look dominant against the Panthers. Travis Hunter played mostly offensive snaps more compared to defensive. Meanwhile, the Bengals lucked out a win against the Browns. Spread's 3.5 in Cincinnati. I think the Bengals will come out and they'll dominate this one this week. And much I want to say the Jaguars are decent, but the thing is they played a terrible Panthers team. So I got the Bengals win this one. They'll cover this week. They'll play a lot better than they did against the Browns. Oh, Nick's got the Pats winning. Yeah, that one's a tough one for you to pick, honestly, but I just like Miami in that one for some reason. This one, not really much really talking about here. This is going to be a blowout for sure. The spread is favored 11.5 favored by the Ravens. They're against the Cleveland Browns. Ravens are pissed off how bad they choked against the Bills. The Browns, they played close to the Bengals, but I just don't see the Browns playing a close game with the Ravens at all. Ravens were kind of cover the spread this week. They're going to dominate the Browns because they really should have had that game won last week. This is coming from a Bills fan. Ravens are going to be pissed off. They're going to win this one for sure, easily against the Browns. This one here, an NFC East showdown here between the New York Giants at the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys, I'll give them credit. They played well with the Super Bowl champs last week. They hung in there. Meanwhile, the Giants, absolute ass. Couldn't score. All they got is field goals. They really couldn't reach the end zone at all. And Dable's still sticking with Russell Wilson as their starting quarterback. I feel like eventually Jackson Dart's going to be your starter by the end of the season. Seriously, if Russell Wilson's struggles continue in New York. But I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to cover the 5.5-point spread. The Giants could surprise me, but I just don't see it. I like the Cowboys in this one, especially how close they came to beating the Eagles. Next, the LA Rams at the Tennessee Titans. The Titans played well with the Broncos. They played well. Rams had kind of an ugly win against the Texans. But I think the Rams will put up more points this week and will win. I shouldn't underestimate the Titans again, but I like the LA Rams this one. Their offense is so good. I think they're going to have a better offensive performance this week in Tennessee. Buffalo Bills at the New York Jets. This one kind of scares me as a Bills fan. That's how good the Jets played against the Steelers last week. Yes, we had a great comeback win, but still, division rivals, division games are so tough. I know our division's kind of weak, but I shouldn't say it after I saw what the Jets played last week. I think the Jets probably the second best team in the AFC East. Bills obviously the top of the division still. But look out for this New York Jets team this year. Justin Fields, phenomenal despite the loss. The spread is 6.5 favored by the Bills. I'm still gonna take it. I think the Bills. It's not gonna be a lucky win this week. They're gonna actually come out and just dominate. Have a much faster start, play a full 4 quarters, and not slow down at all. They're gonna beat this Jets team this week by at least 7 points or more. And the last little, you got 2 more 1 o'clock games here. You got the Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions. Both teams come off tough division losses. Bears choked. Meanwhile, the Lions got decimated by the Packers defense. The spread is 5.5 favored by Detroit. Detroit's gonna be pissed off. They are gonna cover the spread. They'll get back in the winning column. The Bears are gonna go to 0-2 in my opinion. Bears should have at least been 1-0, but they did some stupid stuff, missing that field goal, which cost them that game. The last of the 1 o'clock. You got 2 more 1 o'clock games actually now. Actually, I thought it was 3, but no, it's actually 2 more now. You got Seattle Seahawks at the Pittsburgh Steelers. This one I look forward to. Other than the Bills game, this is one of those games I'm looking forward to. The Steelers Seahawks. Steelers are favored by 2.5. Seahawks defense dominated most part. Didn't allow as much points, but they gave up a game-winning drive to the 49ers. The Steelers came in clutch with Chris Boswell kicking a 60-yard field goal. But still, offense looked great. Their defense looked concerning. I think Steelers defense have a better bounce back, and Sam Darnold's gonna be seeing ghosts. So give me the Steelers to cover the spread, and as my pick of the week, the Pittsburgh Steelers will be my pick of the week. All I can say is fuck the Seahawks and fuck Wiesman. So I like the Steelers in that one. Here's the last of the 1 o'clock slate. The San Francisco 49ers at the New Orleans Saints. The spread is 4.5 favored by the Saints, by the 49ers. But the Saints hung in there, but also the 49ers are just beat up. The 49ers got so many injury issues. George Kittle on IR. Brock Purdy might not play. I'll still take the 49ers to cover because the Saints are just going to be one of the worst teams in football. I'll take the 49ers in that one. Carolina Panthers at the Arizona Cardinals. Battle of the midget quarterbacks. Bryce Young versus Kyler Murray. The spread's 6.5 favored by the Cardinals. I took them last week, but this week I think it's going to be a lot closer. I think the Panthers will play a lot better game this week. But I could still see the Cardinals winning, but I took the Panthers in the points. That's what I like this one. I like Carolina. You got the Denver Broncos at the Indianapolis Colts. It's 2.5 favored by the Broncos, but I'll take the Broncos cover this week. They'll do better than the spread last week. Although the Colts looked amazing. But the thing is, Daniel Jones going to have a hard time with this defense, I feel like, this week. Broncos defense, one of the best in the league for sure. And to wrap up the 4 o'clock slate, you got the Super Bowl rematch. It is the Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Eagles are road favorites. Of course, Chiefs came with a tough loss to Chargers. Meanwhile, the Eagles close win over the Cowboys. I think the Eagles will cover, and the Chiefs are going to start out 0-2. Eagles dominate the Chiefs. Look at the Super Bowl. Sunday Night Football will be the Atlanta Falcons at the Minnesota Vikings. Last time these two quarterbacks met, Michael Penix and J.D. McCarthy, two quarterbacks will meet each other in the same draft class as well. But also, Minnesota. Of course, these last time these two met was the national championship game. McCarthy won the national championship over Michael Penix. Now, first time meeting as NFL quarterbacks now in the same draft class. As in Minnesota Sunday Night Football, the Vikings are 4.5 favorites. I will take the Vikings to cover this week. Much as I want to take the Falcons, but they're all right, but I don't know. I like the Minnesota Vikings. Their defense will be more. They got the better defense this one. Rookie quarterback's good, but I think McCarthy proved their critics wrong, kind of, and I think he'll play a whole 4 quarters of dominant football. I think the Vikings will win this one for sure. And they got 2 Monday night games this week: the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Houston Texans. First at 7 o'clock, up in ABC and ESPN. The Bucks are 2.5 underdogs. The Texans only kicked field goal. They didn't reach the end zone that much. So I'm gonna take the Buccaneers in this one. It's not gonna be even close. The Bucks dominate the Texans in this one. And to wrap it up, you got the After Dark game at 10 o'clock on ESPN following the Texans Buccaneers game. It'll be the Chargers and the Raiders, AFC East rivals. Chargers are favored by 3.5. I will think they'll cover. The Chargers will be 2-0. Raiders will hang in there for a while, but the Chargers are gonna pull away in the 4th quarter. So give me the Chargers. Now let's look on the college football. What we had, I'll be right back. Cause dog's acting up. All right, buddy, we're going. What you? Right. Well, I'm back. But yeah, now let's recap the college football Saturday we had last week, and of course pick this week's games. Starting with the thriller between Iowa State and Iowa. Low scoring, but it was a good game to watch, though. Iowa State kicked the go-ahead field goal. They beat Iowa, so they're 3-0. They win their in-state rivalry matchup. You also had Pitt dominating Central Michigan. There's times Central Michigan could have hung in there, but I do like Pitt. Pitt dominated that one. So yeah, Pitt dominated that one. Of course, UVA and NC State. What a thriller this one was. It's a high-scoring battle. It's 35-31. Still, it was a back and forth for a while, but NC State was down 10.5. Came back, beat UVA 35-31. That was a good matchup to watch offensively. And some defensive turnovers at times, but still, it was a good game. Next, you had Duke and Illinois. And Illinois, like I said, was going to win this one. But they didn't just win. They just destroyed the Blue Devils. Illinois looks like a legit top 10 team right now. That could set up a huge top 10 matchup against, Ohio State possibly. Because they got Ohio State this year. That could set up a really massive matchup if Illinois keeps playing like this year. That'd be interesting how that goes. But yeah, Illinois looks good, legit right now. And of course, to wrap up the noon games we had last week, Penn State shutting out FIU. They should have won by more than just 34 points. They had a slow start. But I mean, hey, it's a good thing it's non-conference play because if they're in the Big Ten right now, they would get exposed like they've always done. So yeah, Penn State shutting out FIU. The 3:30 games. Ole Miss finally beating Kentucky after losing last year's game. So congrats to them. And I said Ole Miss was going to win at this one, so that was a good one. This one I'm really surprised. Even though I had Kansas my pick, but still, they were up 21-6, and then they just choked after that. They lost to Missouri. They blew a big lead. Kansas really should have had this thing won. So they let the game get to them. Now Missouri's 2-0 now. Kansas tries. It's their first loss of the year. They really should be 3-0. Kansas really should have been. But this is the biggest blowout of the week. One of the biggest ones for a Power 5 matchup. Oregon just dominates Oklahoma State 69-3. A 66-point dominant win by the Oregon Ducks. I still think they're still a Big Ten championship contender, too. They look tough still. They need a bunch of evening games. Starting with the thriller between Boston College and Michigan State. Double overtime. Congrats to Michigan State on a win there. They found a way to beat Boston College this year. They are 2-0. Man, what a thriller between those two teams. Then you also had Arizona State falling to Mississippi State. I thought Arizona State was going to win this one because how bad Mississippi State was last year. But man, down goes Arizona State. They're out of the ranking because of that loss. Their magic is over. Mississippi State played spoiler. Michigan falls to Oklahoma. Oklahoma winning by 11. So the Sooners hand Michigan their first loss. That was a good matchup, but Oklahoma defense prevailed. Looked amazing against Michigan. My Hokies, this is going to be a long college football season. Good thing I still got the Bills to root for. Man, Virginia Tech's 0-2. They started out great in the first half dominance, but then second half they couldn't score a single point. They got smoked. They're up 20-10 at halftime. They gave up 34 unanswered points to lose to Vanderbilt. Tough time to be a Hokies fan, I'll tell you right now for me. 0-2. But now let's go to week 3's picks to cap off the night. Starting with tomorrow, there's a college football game at 7:30 on ESPN. It is NC State and Wake Forest. An ACC matchup here. Who do I take? I think I'll take the Wolfpack again, just like last week. I think NC State will win. They'll find a way to beat Wake Forest, and they'll be 3-0 and 1-0 in the conference. Friday's game, big game, Big Ten, a big matchup on Fox. It'll be Kansas State and Arizona for the second straight year. But I like Arizona's one. Much I want to take Kansas State. They've been struggling. They just lost to Army, but they're 1-2. They're going to struggle. I think Arizona will be 3-0. Give me Arizona in this one. Actually at home at Tucson. This one's kind of a no-brainer pick. Oregon at Northwestern. Oregon's going to dominate Northwestern just like they did with Oklahoma State last week. So that'll be the big noon Saturday game on Fox. That's not going to be fun to watch because Northwestern's going to get spanked by Oregon. This one, keep your eyes on this one. Clemson and Georgia Tech. Clemson survived a scare from Troy. But, they're playing Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, their biggest win so far this year is beating Coach Prime, beating Colorado. I think Georgia Tech's legit a contender to win the ACC this year. And I think they're going to beat Clemson at home. So that's one I can see an upset. I think Georgia Tech pulls out the upset over Clemson. So give me the Yellow Jackets in this one. Wisconsin and Alabama. Last time these two met was last year in Wisconsin. Alabama just throttled them. It's been the same trend again. Alabama dominates Wisconsin. This will be on ABC. The SEC on ABC. That game will be on. But yeah, I like Alabama this one by a lot. Villanova, Penn State. Penn State will do so much better than they did against FIU. They'll dominate Villanova. They'll put up a lot of points in that one. Their last non-conference game as well. So yeah, I got Penn State in that one. Tennessee and Georgia. This is where College Game Day will be at. This will be at Knoxville, Tennessee. This is a huge test for both teams. Yes, Georgia's the favorites on the road, but give me Tennessee. I think they're long overdue to finally beat Georgia in this one. Much I would take Georgia, but I like Tennessee this year. The team they got Aguilar. Might be the guy in this one. This is a huge mismatch. You know, they're both 2-0. USC and Purdue. Purdue might be improved, but I got to go the Trojan this one. Even though this is at Purdue. I got to go USC this one. Big. The Backyard Brawl is back for another year. Pitt and West Virginia. This is at Morgantown. Pitt's, though, favored by a touchdown. They're 6.5 favorites, pretty much. I'm going to go West Virginia, of course, because I hate Pitt, but also I just think West Virginia is going to win this week. They're going to bounce back week then after losing to Ohio. So give me the Mountaineers this one. Eat shit, Pitt. 7 o'clock, Virginia, my Hokies, 0-2. Look, they finally get their first win. They play at Old Dominion, 7 o'clock on the ACC network. This is the third time the charm. They're finally going to win. Virginia Tech will beat Old Dominion. Write that down. Virginia Tech gets their first win of the season this weekend. Then you got Saturday Night Football on ABC. This week will be at LSU in Baton Rouge. They'll host Florida. Florida just took a tough loss to South Florida. Meanwhile, LSU, probably the best win by over Clemson a couple weeks ago now. And another in a tough SEC matchup. But prime time at Death Valley in Baton Rouge. I got to go LSU, especially at home on prime time. They're going to win this one under the lights for sure. Notre Dame and Texas A&M. These two teams met week 1 last year. This year, week 3 matchup on NBC prime time from South Bend. Notre Dame had the bye week last week. They will win this week. They will get back on track. They will beat Texas A&M. They're going to be the Irish in this one. And last but not least, South Carolina Vanderbilt. Yes, both these teams beat my Hokies. But both Virginia Tech losses are against these two teams. South Carolina will hang. I mean, Vanderbilt will hang in this one, but I think South Carolina will find a way to win and get in the top 10, possibly in the rankings. So, I mean, give me the Gamecocks one. Much I want to take Vanderbilt, but still, this South Carolina team looks legit this year. So, give me the Gamecocks one. Thank you all for tuning in this week. We will see you all next week. I'm thankful again for my dad appearing on, Instagram Mick once again. Hope he has a good time in Green Bay. I hope everyone enjoys their NFL/college football weekend. And also, rest in peace to Charlie Kirk, though. Just an awful day in the American world. Losing a political activist like him, too young, gone too soon, after being shot at Utah Valley. So, my thoughts and prayers go out to Charlie Kirk and the rest of his family. Pretty much the Charlie Kirk family. Especially his wife and kid. That's awful. But yeah, prayers go out to him for sure. The Kirk family for sure. We will see you all next week. Same time, same place, 8:30. Enjoy your weekend, everyone.